Hello and welcome to Live with the Pricing Lady. I'm Janine Liston, your hostess for the show. This show is all about helping you get better at doing pricing in your business. I help people to create the value, quantify the value, and then communicate the value so that they can sell their offers and their services and their products to their customers. Today on the show, we're going to take a look at the top 7 profit-killing pricing mistakes or the deadly sins of pricing in small businesses. Actually, I called them deadly sins, so I should keep calling them that, right? That's what we're going to take a look at today. I've got 7 for you, so we're going to go through them quickly. What I'd encourage you to do is as you go through, if something's not clear or if you have questions, then go ahead and pop them into the comments below. Let's go ahead and get started on the 7 profit-killing sins of pricing in small businesses. Number 1, you're operating without a clear pricing strategy. So let me tell you this. If you're sitting there thinking, what's a pricing strategy? Or I don't know if I have one, then probably you don't have one. You may have one informally, but you've not actually really thought about it. What is a pricing strategy? A pricing strategy will tell you several things. It will tell you what you intend with your pricing. It will tell you how your pricing is going to support both your brand as well as your business objectives. Is going to show you as well how you're going to operate with pricing in your business. Are you going to have a pricing system with discounts and rebates for different channels? Or are you going to use discounts and make special offers in your business? And if so, when are you going to make them and how are you going to do it? So your pricing strategy is really your sort of Bible for how you're going to do pricing in your business so that your pricing helps you to reach your business goals and targets. So that's really what number 1 is. You're operating without a clear purpose behind your pricing. If you've watched my shows or read my content, then you know that pricing is more than just setting a number. And it starts with understanding how you want to use pricing in your business. And that is what your pricing strategy is all about. Sin number 2 is that you misunderstand or you don't understand how price affects profit in your business. This one is really important. Even large corporations sometimes forget to take a look at how their pricing is going to affect profitability. Every 1% counts in pricing. And usually it has a much more significant impact on your profitability than the other profit levers like fixed costs, variable costs, and volume. So pricing is really going to push your profit either up or down depending on what you're doing with it. But you need to understand how sensitive your profit is to changes in price. And that's going to be really important. You also need to understand the relationship between what you charge and how much volume you're going to need to bring in order to be able to cover your costs and make a profit. All of these things come into combination. And what I find quite often with small businesses is they don't really face the music, if you will. They don't take a deep look at this and understand what they sell, who they sell it to, at what prices, and how often they can sell it, how that factors into having a profitable business for the long term. This is very important because a business with no profit is, well, in all intents and purposes, is really not much of a business, if one at all. Even a business that is a charity, they usually have to generate income somehow, and they may sell some things like t-shirts and whatever, and that money is then put back into running the organization or goes back into the charity, but they still have to set prices for those things, and they still are selling the idea of what they're doing in the charity. So again, they need to understand the numbers and how that's going to affect their ability to break even in the case of a charity, right? So really understanding profitability in your business and the relationship between price and profit is super critical for small businesses, and also very critical for startups because it's going to be part of the story that you're going to be telling investors. So keep that in mind. Even if you're not a small business yet, for startups, this is also quite important. So sin number 3, let's take a look at that. Let me just flip this over so I can see it. And this one has to do with discounting unnecessarily or when you haven't been asked to. So I call this destroying value. So I've had several clients over the years who have told me that they just preemptively offer discounts in order to soften the blow for customers. And in my book, this is generally a big no-no. I kind of go by the mantra that pricing or discounts always come with a trade-off. And they should come with a trade-off because it's all about the value that you're delivering. And if you adjust the price without adjusting the value, then you're basically telling your customer that the value isn't really there in what you're offering. So I like to think of it as this scale, right? With two sides. You have price on one side and value on the other. And if you're going to adjust the price, then you need to adjust the value so that the price value scale stays in balance. So if you can keep that image in the back of your mind as you're walking into situations where you might be needing to offer discounts or being asked to offer discounts, that will help you remember to make sure that you're always adjusting things so that you can try to keep that scale in balance. Now here I'm talking primarily about special discounts, not about a discount and rebate system, right? So some companies work with different channels and have different discount levels for different channel partners. I'm not talking about those kind of discounts. I'm more talking about special offers and maybe project-based discounts, things like that. Really, again, you want to make sure that you keep that price value scale in balance as you're working with clients and negotiating or not, as the case may be. If you're working on closing a deal with a client, you want to keep in mind that discounts always come with a trade-off because you're keeping that price value scale in balance. Next, number 4, you lack a robust pricing process. Now, whether you're a big company or a small company, you need to have thought about how you're going to do pricing. And if you have a strategy, you have thought about that. But then you have some processes behind it. Now, in a small business, they may be fairly light, but it's good to have something formal there. When are you going to review your pricing? And you can always work backwards, for example. I need to send an announcement out by this date, so I need to review it by this date and work backwards so that you give yourself the time and space to be able to do it in the right way. Or what's the process you're going to use for setting your prices? What things are you going to look at? What is part of that consideration? What will tell you where the price should be and shouldn't be? Having a process for that can also be very helpful in your business. And in my opinion, it is one of the things that is missing in a lot of small businesses. And part of that is because they see pricing as just throwing a number on a product or an offer, as opposed to it being an integral part of the business. Because, as I said before at the very beginning, because price is such a big influence on your profitability, it merits that you spend a little more time and attention than maybe just throwing a number on a product before you start selling it. So again, think about 2 or 3 simple processes in your small business. Now, if you're a little bit bigger business and different people in the business are doing different things, then you need to figure out who's going to set prices, who's going to manage, who's going to make decisions about what discounts are offered and when. So you want to have a process behind that as well. The bigger the company, quite often the more complex that process is. In my experience and opinion, at the very least, sales, marketing, and finance should always be working together on this topic. In a small business, of course, you're the person who is doing all of the sales, marketing, and finance generally, so you would be then creating smaller processes for yourself. Let's look at number 5. Sin number 5 is that you don't understand and or sell based on the value you deliver or your product delivers. Why is this important? If you heard me say it once and you'll hear me say it again, price only relevant in the context of value, right? So value is going to be sort of the primer for what you can charge. What I mean by that is that, if you think of, okay, this is a funny example, but a beer keg, you have to pump the beer keg in order to get the beer out of there, right? Well, this is how I think of value. When you understand the value, it's like pumping the keg so that you can get the beer out. Strange example, one I've never used before, but I like it, right? And so then being able to explain and understand the value of what you offer and put it into context before you deliver the price is absolutely critical. How do you do this? I've talked about this in videos before, but you have to extract not just the benefits, but you have to go beyond that and look at what are the economics behind those benefits. How am I saving them time? How am I saving them money? How am I helping them reduce their risk? Or if it's B2B, be more competitive in their marketplace. These are areas where you can start to actually quantify the value that deliver. Now, you may never share that quantification with your customers, but if you know it, then that adds a boost of confidence to you when it comes to communicating for your prices. So just a quick example on this one. So let's say that what you offer for your clients can bring them an additional 5,000 francs a year on average, or it doesn't have to be francs, it can be euros, dollars, whatever. And you're charging $500 for that service, but they can earn 5,000 francs more a year. If you know that the value is worth at least 5,000 francs and you're only charging 500, you might think, maybe I could increase the price a little bit. Or you might think, actually, I think that's a really good value for money. I'm going to run with that. Either way, understanding the context of how much value you're bringing in a financial term will really help you feel more confident in what you're charging. And then sometimes you may even share that idea with your clients, or you may ask them questions to get them to think about it as well. Those are two ways that you can very effectively help them put the price into context as well. And this also goes to this whole concept of value selling. So you're not focused on the price and you're not necessarily focused on what you're doing, but you're really focused on this is what working with me or using my products can bring you, and this is how it's going to help you down the road. So that is what value selling is all about. But it starts in a real understanding of the value. Actually, it starts even before that. It starts by understanding what value customers are looking for, then creating the offers and products that deliver that, and then you're able to do the value selling all the way through. All right, let's look at the next one. Number 6. The sixth sin is you overestimate price elasticity. So that's a big word. Some of you might not be familiar with price elasticity. Well, price elasticity is really simple. It's the concept that if I make a small change, let's say I increase my price a little bit, how that affects how much I can sell, how much volume I can sell. Or if I lower the price a little bit, how much more I can sell, right? So it's about this relationship between price and volume. Now, where this gets really interesting and where people overestimate it, people believe that in most cases, if they increase their prices, customers will just stop buying by and large, right? Even a little increase. I've had customers who were afraid to actually increase their prices by 2 or 3%. They were afraid that customers would leave. In most industries, prices are not that elastic. Some consumer industries, and of course, if you're an economy, if your pricing strategy is an economy strategy where you're trying to be a low price leader, then of course, those customers are going to be more price sensitive. However, in most small businesses, like the ones you all are out there doing, and like most of my clients, this price elasticity is not that sensitive. In most cases, if you can't actually raise your prices by 10% without having to hold your breath and say a prayer, then there's something wrong in your business. Now, I'm using a bit of a generalization here, but my feeling is that most businesses can, to some extent, wiggle between plus and 10% without it having a huge significant impact on volume. With all that said, what you absolutely positively need to to make sure you do is that you do, if you're thinking of reducing your prices, then do have to understand how much more volume you need in order to break even, and then in order to even make more profit. I have a really website that can help you do that. Actually, let me ask you a question, because this is a great one. If you have a product with a gross profit of 35%, and you were to reduce, no, 40%, sorry, and you were to reduce the price by 10%, how much volume would you need in order to break even? The answer is 33% more volume, which is huge. Where is that volume going to come from? So this is something that you have to look at the math, and you have to look at your market and understand, okay, maybe you think you can get 33% more volume, and then you would break even on profit, but you have to figure out, where is that volume going to come from, and is it sustainable volume? Once the competition finds out, will they go and lower their prices as well, and then you lose the volume in the second case, right? So it's always about running these scenarios and really understanding that elasticity for your business and what it means. Let's look at number 7. This is sin number 7. Poor pricing execution. Now, this can be really tricky, and it comes in a couple of different forms. So with a lot of small business owners, they avoid having pricing discussions, which I know for some of us, or for some of you, that's going to sound a little bit silly, because of course, most businesses, you're going to have some sort of conversation with a customer, unless it's just directly online, but you're going to have some sort of conversation with them. And if you're afraid of having that conversation, that doesn't bode well for the price levels that you're going to be able to demand from customers, or the value that you're going to be creating for them. They're also going to feel this sense of trepidation that you're feeling about delivering your prices or having that conversation. So long story short, that's not going to be helping you very much in your business. The number one thing that you need to do in order to overcome that is you need to understand where your prices come from, understand and feel confident in them, because that will help you feel much more confident when you're having those conversations. Now, the other area where execution goes all wrong is what we call transactional pricing. So this is in each sale that you make, right? So what are you doing? If somebody says, oh, I'd order it, but can you give me a 15% discount? Every time you offer a discount, you're losing money. Now, sometimes there are strategic reasons to offer discounts. And as I said before, we give discounts only with a trade-off. Try and it stays a good deal both for them and you. But sometimes we're not going to want to give discounts, and we need to be able to stand up for that. And when we do give them, we need to understand the consequences of them. Because what happens is, I had a client recently, and we were talking about his pricing, and every time, he said, oh, well, I have a special price for this, and I have a special price for that. We looked at this price, and I said, well, how many times have you actually sold this at the actual price you say it is? And then, we looked at it, and he hadn't ever. And I said, okay, so it's not really a special price. This is the price, right? And it's important that you are honest with yourself within your business about what the actual prices are, so that you can plan accordingly. You know how much you need to sell at what price in order to have a viable business. So as you can see, with all of these 7 sins, they are very much interconnected and related to each other. They all have influence. Now, what's going to be the most important place for you to start, in my opinion, is to have a pricing strategy, because that will actually give you some guidelines to work by within your business. Tell you how to set them, how it's going to support your business, how it's going to support your brand, and how you are going to operate. So in my opinion, that is the most important place to start. Tighten up your pricing strategy so that you know what you're going to do and how pricing is going to help you in your business. That's what I wanted to share with you today, ladies and gentlemen. Just so you know, either next week or the week after, we're going to be looking at the 10 commandments of pricing. So now we've talked about what goes wrong. And next, I want to focus on what we're going to be doing right. I believe I have a guest next week, but if not, we'll do the 10 commandments next week. And if I do have a guest, then we'll do the week after. That's all for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. As always, if you have questions or comments on this show, I'd love for you to share them down to the chat. Actually, I'll even challenge you. What are the 2 sins that you're committing the most? Go ahead and share that down in the comments below so that we can have a conversation about and start helping you do better with pricing in your business. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. I wish you all the best. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy pricing.